Thank you so much for joining us. We will go ahead and get started, and then as some more people trickle in, we'll admit them from the waiting room. So, thank you for joining our workshop today, AI Readiness for Counselors, Strategies and Resources for Advising Success. We have two of our amazing Counselors for Computing presenters here. I'll let them introduce themselves. But I did just send in the chat, and I will keep sending the links. You can view the slide decks along with us, and then we also have a link if you'd like to post on LinkedIn that you're attending our workshop today. That would be awesome. So I will let our presenters introduce themselves. Christy, you can go ahead and start.
Sure. Hi, my name is Christy Conley. I am a high school counselor at North Oconee High School, located in Bogart, Georgia, and I'm excited to be with you guys today.
Hey everyone, my name is Sanel Bhakta. I was a former CT teacher, career and technical education administrator in Clark County, Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, and happy to be here and be a part of the C4C Counselors for Computing program. And let's get started. I'm just going to dive right into it. Christy, if you can go back to the previous slide. Great. A couple of things, closed captioning. I don't know about all of you. I love closed captioning. It does not mean I'm old. It just means I'm trying to be a better reader. So feel free to turn closed captioning on in the chat. And remember, we're going to use the chat feature to engage with you. We want this to be interactive. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please drop them in the chat. We'll do our best to get to them before the end. And at the end, we will have a Q&A opportunity, some dedicated time for you to ask questions from us. And then feel free to post on LinkedIn, social media, or anything like that, information about the workshop, maybe what you learned, positives, negatives, anything like that. Let's get going. And happy Friday, everybody. Just some of the objectives today. These are some of our goals that we're going to try to accomplish. Now, one thing I do want to tell you, AI, it's changing each and every day. Even though these are our objectives, please keep in mind that, AI, at the rate it's changing, what we say today, it may not be true tomorrow. But obviously, we want to talk about some of the components of AI literacy, critical thinking, and how we can use AI, as counselors when we're working with students in school situations, providing them information, how AI can really be a tool for all of us to use. And hopefully, you learned something new today. So let's go. NCWIT. So for those of you that aren't familiar who NCWIT is, we are a national nonprofit, a number of different, we have, I think the number there, 1,600 change leader organizations that are part of NCWIT. This includes researchers, K-12 schools, nonprofits, companies, businesses, all working to expand access and knowledge and opportunities about technology, STEM fields, different things like that, just to ensure that we have a diverse workforce. As my background says, we're revolutionizing the face of technology. We want everyone to be included as technology moves forward, as we're designing new technology. And really, NCWIT supports this globally. And some of the programs that I'm a part of is Counselors for Computing and Aspirations in Computing, two amazing programs that support counselors as well as students. Yeah, that's it. So we'll move on.
Yeah. So the counselors for computing, we definitely want you guys to leave here today as a champion for tech education and to see how computing and tech is a way to inspire your students to pursue a lifelong love of learning. We hope that this session and other information can empower you to help the next generation of tech savvy problem solvers, innovators, and leaders who will shape a brighter future for everyone. And so as we continue on, we want to make sure that we kind of give a throwback to the first printed edition or reference definition of AI was actually in 1955 at a summer conference proposal at Dartmouth, where researchers referred to artificial intelligence as the conjecture that every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can, in principle, be so precisely described that a machine can be made to simulate it. So always interesting to hear where things are developed or come from.
All right. So now let's get to a Zoom poll. If you could use your chat, tell us, what is AI? In your own words, it could be one or two words, but what is AI? And there's a multiple choice, I believe, in the chat. Even better. Or you should have a poll pop up and just select an answer, submit, or I guess multiple answers if you can. Can they select multiple answers? I don't know.
Yep,
We'll
they should
find
be able
out.
to select multiple answers. Yeah.
All right, cool. And the technology is working because I see answers coming in. So that's great. Someone just didn't turn us on and go to the restroom or something like that. They're actually watching and listening. So I'm seeing some of the answers coming in and we're just going to address, I believe, the first question right now, but I'm just looking at I like a set of recursive machine learning algorithms. I feel like I have to Google recursive so I know what the official definition is, but uh, I think when you repeat something over and over again, but that's cool.
All right.
All right, are we closing the chat?
Yep.
Zoom
We're going to
pool? All
close
right.
the poll.
All right. That's awesome. 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 Some great answers there. Yeah, yeah. I love it. And I'm just all right. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Sorry about that. I was just reading through some of the answers. So, um, and thank you for answering. I think they answered the general attitude towards AI too. So, I believe most people are pretty positive about that. But let's move on and we'll discuss more of that. But I love that, you know, a lot of people have said recursive machine learning algorithms for the poll. But really, AI, it's all of that. Everything that's listed on there, AI is all of that. AI has been around, as Christy said, for many, many years, decades, and really everything that's said on all those answers on the poll describe what AI is. So, all right, next slide. Okay, so AI official definition. It's a system. It's a machine that operates and learns, and it's really a tool that's to be utilized by all of us. And I really like the fact that, especially, you know, our students today are using AI on a daily basis, whether we like it or not. And I think we all, to some degree, use AI. But I think what we need to do is we need to look at is, you know, where are our students using AI and how can we best support them? So, if you could type in the chat that last question, where do your students already encounter these tools? Now, think about like for us, like I use AI. If you have Google, if you have an Amazon Alexa at home, if you use Siri on your phone, I mean, those are very basic, rudimentary AI tools. But where do we think our students are encountering these tools, especially in an education setting or an academic setting? Just feel free to type in the chat if you have any responses or any thoughts on where your students using these tools. You know, uh, phones, Google Translate. Oh, I love that Google Translate. One thing that the school district, my local school district's doing is that they're using Google Translate to help students, help those English language learners or MLL, multi-language learners, be able to be successful in the classroom. Grammarly, oh, I don't know where I would be without Grammarly. My emails and spelling would be terrible. Um, they would be like, why is this second grader responding to my email? But Grammarly helps me be an adult. So I love it. So robotics teams use ChatGPT, phones, computers, Magic School. That's great. Some great responses there. So well, one thing I want to highlight is that there's no one answer. There's no one way students are using AI. They're thinking of different ways to use AI. If you haven't already encountered it, but there's a commercial on TV that talks about ChatGPT and a student uploading 3 documents and taking a picture of their notes and it creating a study guide for the student. So even as teachers in the classroom, I mean, creating a study guide for a student, how valuable is that when they can do it in AI or use AI to do it in less than 5 seconds? So really amazing. So hopefully you get to see that commercial at some point. Really a kind of a cool commercial with ChatGPT. So, all right, let's move on to the machine learning. Once again, this is not Skynet. This is not something that's going to take over the world. We're not there yet. Hopefully we won't get there in my lifetime. but really, it's software. It's looking for patterns, looking for similarities, and really, AI uses that information to create those responses, right? So just like how we use different tools to help us, students are using those tools to help them in education. So, and that's really what machine learning is. It's learning from the tools that we use, and that's what AI is doing. So, all right, next slide. So how do they learn, right? Well, it's the information we give it to them. We give to them. It's that data, right? So that is probably the biggest challenge in education is the data, the information out there. Because right now, many AI tools are using information that's all over the internet, all over the web, right? Now, the problem is we work with young people, and there are certain laws, there are certain criteria that, they're not adults yet. So we really need to narrow down the information AI tools use in our schools so that we are providing them factual, actual, real information and age appropriate information when they're using those AI tools. So that's the key. It's that data. That data is really what creates AI, helps AI makes decisions, create images. That example I gave, that commercial that ChatGPT has, where it creates a study guide. I love that because that student gave AI the three PDFs from class and a copy of their notes they took in class and used that information to create the study guide. Okay. As opposed to a student writing in an AI prompt saying, hey, please create a study guide for this topic or this lesson, where AI would search everything as opposed to using a smaller set of data and information, which is how we should be using AI in education. Because obviously, with students, there's a number of laws, FERPA laws, different things like that. We want them to use correct, valuable, factual information when they're using AI. So, all right, next slide.
Okay,
Vocabulary.
so
Yeah, go
now we're
ahead.
going to talk a little bit about the bias part that can come in to play with AI. And as Sanal was talking about, AI is definitely pulling information from the internet, and all information is not the same. So there's definitely valuable information and true information that it's pulling from the internet, but there's also unmoderated parts of the internet that it's pulling information from that can lead to problematic information. So we want to make sure that we're cautioning ourselves when we're using AI, as well as our students and other individuals that we're working with, that they need to be thinking through that bias piece of that not everyone's treated the same. People, places, and things are not always accurately depicted. And so one such example is a study out of Germany that showed that generative AI chatbots advise women to ask for significantly lower salaries than men with identical profiles. And so that pattern of detection can exacerbate exclusionary outcomes for marginalized groups in regards to housing, credit, employment, thinking about college lists for students. There's just a lot of ways that bias can creep in when you're working with AI. And so just to delve into that a little further, we want to make sure we're thinking of what can those negative impacts be. And so we've got a couple of things listed here: unfair treatment, continuing stereotypes, unequal opportunities, and misinformation really are some key points to think about as you're looking at AI, and making sure, again, that your students are aware to be on the lookout for those as they're navigating those different tools. And then an example of this as well is that a lot of times you may see different commercials or ads based on other information you've put in. And it's always interesting to see what those look like. For example, there were some conversation about Facebook targeting tech jobs postings for men rather than women. Sometimes students can see different things based on what they're putting in that can have biases or different prejudices as well. So we just want to make sure that we bring to light that conversation, and that as you're working with students, that you're making sure that they're aware that some of the things that they're being targeted with or promoted might be as a result of some negative bias. And also thinking about large language models and generative AI. And so some of these models are not excluded to, but can include like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, just to name a few that people might be more familiar with. these are trained on vast amounts of text and code and can generate human-like responses. And so students a lot of times will want to use those when they're looking at essays, or I'll even include myself. I use those sometimes in essays or email responses, summaries for things, translations. We talked about that earlier. We've definitely utilized that to translate transcripts for students that are coming from different systems or countries, and even computer code when needed. And so this category is a lot of what's used in K through 12 education today, of how we're trying to work smarter and not harder in some ways. AI has definitely jumped in and been a resource for us in K through 12, but we also want to be very thoughtful about that. And so generative AI is a broad category of AI that creates content, while LLMs generate a specific type of generative AI that creates text-based content. And so as you think of it, you want to make sure that LLMs are a form of generative AI, but not all generative AI is an LLM. And so they can create hallucinogens or hallucinate things. So this is why we as humans want to make sure that we're really being critical when we're using AI and recognizing what can be a fact and what can be misrepresented sources. And so you're going to hear us talk a lot about keeping humans in the loop and being trained in that literacy coming up, is because we want to make sure that we're being critical and being very knowledgeable when we're looking at AI, to make sure that we're using facts and not things that AI has created. So we're going to do an example. We want to see if you can tell from this example, is this a legitimate claim that AI has created, or is this a hallucination? And so we want you to type in the chat if you feel like this is a legitimate, or is this something that AI has just created. So if you'll take a moment and put your response in the chat, we'll see who has AI critical thinking skills. And so now I'm going to let you kind of tell me how we're doing on the chat, just because I can't see that from my screen.
Sure. We have a lot of hallucination. It is Friday, so I don't know if that's a factor, but yeah, I think we have some pretty smart people on this call, and I think they're calling it out. It's a hallucination. It is not true.
Well, you guys are on it, and it is not only a hallucination in one point of the sentence, but all throughout. So definitely the Great Wall of China was not built in 1969. It was actually in the 14th and 17th centuries. So the date aspect is incorrect. And then it's also incorrect in that it cannot be seen from the moon with the naked eye. There's actually nothing that can be seen from the moon with the naked eye. And so not only was it incorrect in one point, it was incorrect in both points. And so again, this is just an example of what we want our students to be able to look at and say, hey, this may not be correct. I might want to fact check that and make sure that AI is actually generating correct information for me to use. And I love using these with my students because sometimes they don't think I'm being honest and saying that AI is incorrect. And so this is a great way to kind of show them that AI is not telling the truth all the time. So again, just kind of coming back to that focal point of keeping humans in the loop. I mean, the main point that we want to have is there should be a person responsible for really reviewing, interpreting, and approving AI-assisted outputs before they influence real decisions. And so we want to make sure that as our students are using or thinking about using AI, that they know that, and that they're really being thoughtful of what is being sent back to them as they're looking at AI responses, and not just taking that as something that's fact and moving forward, but you really using critical thinking skills as they're developing that college essay and brainstorming some things, and making sure that it's not putting things that are maybe biased in there, or not putting equity in there, or thinking through alignment with their student voice. Like, is it really representing who they are as a student and what they want to portray in their college application process? When you think about that career exploration piece, are there things that are just stereotypes that are listed on there? Are there things that have really brought up other aspects of their personality that you as their counselor are aware of, or that a teacher might be aware of because they've had personalized conversations with them. And then last but not least, we definitely want to make sure that that human touch is really critical in the mental health resources. As a counselor, I know that there are definitely chatbots and other things that are being talked about in the moving into that space. And there's just a lot of things I hope that we think through before we're utilizing those, and that a lot of times it may give responses that may not be on point for what that student really needs in that moment. And so just thinking through, AI can definitely be assistive, but the human touch is definitely something that's critical to the work that we do as counselors. And so we do have listed below, you can see at the bottom, two organizations that definitely emphasize human-centered and teacher-led AI use to avoid deepening those inequities, and then a lack of understanding of what students are being given to really think through. So we want to make sure that that is something we talk deeply about today.
All right, so let's go to the secret portion of the presentation, as I like to say, the AI agents. So I always think of 007, the agent for the British intelligence. But what AI agents are basically AI tools that are doing more than just regurgitating information, more than just a question and answer. They're actually you're giving them information, data to really think on their own, to create something, to plan something. One example could be where, hey, you're using an AI agent to send out emails to schedule these meetings with all these students, these advising sessions, and it returns back and creates a calendar for you, right? So it's really that next evolution of AI, those AI agents that are emerging out there. And it's really it's really kind of a cool way that we can use AI, but I think you have to have that human factor in. I was talking to someone the other day is that, AI can take us on many of our tasks to maybe like 70, 75, 80%, but you still need that human element. I think the expression we were using, you still need a human to dot the I's and cross the T's. So just keep that in mind as you're using any AI agents in your own practice. So let's go on to the next portion. This is two truths and AI. So kind of like two truths and a lie. And I see my good friend Joe put in the chat that AI can cite references, but those references could be made up.
Mm.
I used to tell students, and we all probably know, students probably go to Wikipedia for a lot of information, but what they don't know is that anyone can edit Wikipedia. So the same thing with AI. AI doesn't know if a source is true or not. It just knows that it's out there and to go out there and use it. So for this portion, in the chat, tell us which picture is AI generated and which picture is not. So to the left, you have a distinguished gentleman. In the middle, you have a beautiful mountain river scene. And in the right, you got a cat that's looking at you, wondering, what are you doing? So which one is AI generated or which two are the truths? So once again, distinguished gentleman to the left, scenic mountain scene, or a cat. So we're getting some answers coming in. The left one, the man, he has six fingers. Uh, the man, the left. Cat has two different colored eyes. Now, I will have to say, cats, I believe there's a term for when animals have two different colored eyes, just like humans. If you did not know, humans can have two different colored eyes, as I believe as well. Oh yeah, someone put it in the chat. Yay! I hope I didn't give away that answer though, but yeah. All right, I'll give you a few more seconds to write. So I see a lot of the man, the man, the man, the man. But should we tell them the answer, Christy, or should we just let them think about it over the weekend and then we email it out on Monday with the slide deck?
Oh, I say we tell them the answer.
Oh, well, okay. All right. All right. We better tell them. All right. So the two AI generated images, obviously, many of you got the person. We've seen that a lot in the news and media. Extra fingers, extra arm, when pictures, celebrity pictures get modified. But the middle one is also AI generated. That river is actually flowing up as opposed to downward stream, as with gravity and all that. So the only correct or non-AI generated picture is the cat there to the right. So congrats to everyone who thought the cat was the only correct picture. But it's just if you did not get it right, that's okay because AI is making life more difficult. I think we really have to recognize, hey, is this true or is this not true? We really have to take a second look nowadays with that. So,
Hmm.
but
That's true.
yeah. All right. So the different layers. All right. So we're not going to be able to go through all these different layers because we'd need another like 6 hours today, and it's Friday. We end of the week. We want to get out of here quickly. But AI, artificial intelligence. That's that first top layer there. And then if you go down to the next layer right there, that's machine learning. We've talked about, we're feeding the data, we're feeding the information. It's using that to make this decisions. I go back to the Chat GPT, the student uploading PDFs, their notes. It created something. It used that information to create something. And then we go into deeper learning. That's where it's starting to think. It's starting to, I think that's where the AI agents coming in. It's starting to make decisions for us, or at least help us make those decisions. And then generative AI, that's where we just did those image creations, where I think we're all probably most familiar with, is that AI is using the information, the data out there to create something that is it original or is it not original? Had a conversation with a friend of mine who's an artist. They hate AI. They hate generative AI because you can't tell if a picture was created by a graphic artist or AI. And it very well could put them out of work in the future. But once again, it's AI is doing what's out there and it can still make mistakes. It doesn't know, it can't tell the difference between right or wrong, whether someone has 5 fingers, 4 fingers, or 6 fingers. So those are kind of the different layers there of AI. So, all right. Okay, so this is a busy slide there to the left, but this really just goes through and talks about a lot of the different and hold on one second. I'm trying to talks about some of the different modes that AI is in as far as understanding, evaluating, using, how we use it, how our students may be using, and really, how we become AI literate, right? How, you understanding these different AI tools, how they can be used to either create something or to produce something or to even help us solve a problem. So I do want to ask everyone a question as it relates to, this graphic and AI literacy, do you all feel like you can explain or have you used AI tools to help explain a concept to students? I'm just kind of curious. So let me restate that. Have you used an AI tool to explain a concept to a student, or have you encountered where students have used an AI tool to maybe explain something to you? Go ahead, Christy. Did you have an
I
example?
definitely have. I
Oh, yeah.
use AI often. And you gave the example previously of creating like a study guide. We definitely have a lot of students that are using it for that on our campus. It's became a very popular tutor for them.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with AI literacy is that really it's understanding that it's used to help you make informed decisions, right? To evaluate, maybe the benefits of something, the pros, cons, helping you, maybe get started, being creative, helping you to be, we still have to be a critical thinker as we're using AI, but as we're using it to evaluate something or how we're using it. So, depending upon how we're using it as counselors, whether we're using it to understand something, evaluate, or use something, our students are definitely using it to evaluate and use something. And the key is, are they really using it to understand something? And that's where I think we come in as educators, helping them identify and helping them understand, hey, it's cool that they use it to evaluate and use it, but are they using it correctly? Are they using the right data? Are they using the right information? Is it producing the right result? Have they fact checked that response or that answer? So, okay, let's move on to the next slide. So this is a question that was asked to students, and how are they using AI, and what are they using AI to do? And I won't read the slide there, but I think what's interesting is that 49% of basically students that are finishing up high school to being young adults, they struggle with evaluating AI and what's the drawback of using AI. I think it's one of those nice shiny tools that we all want to use, but I think it's okay that we do use it in some aspects, but we have to understand it, right? We have to understand it. We have to make sure that we're putting that human element to it. Annika here, where she's using AI to help model and suggest maybe mental health resources. Think about as counselors, if we're using AI to maybe give us information to maybe help us help students, right? If we encounter a situation where we're talking to a student and we put that information in an AI engine to say, well, hey, how would you respond? AI may go out there and it may be researching ASCA standards or maybe researching someone's blog out there on how they've handled the situation. So whatever that answer or the response comes back, we have to kind of make the determination, hey, is this an appropriate use or is this an appropriate way to deal with it? But really like, these two responses that Sophia and Annika, how they're using AI.
So as we move into why counselors need to have AI literacy, we have a graphic to kind of show you the differences in that systemic gap, which is a tool-centered AI learning, and then a systems thinking approach to AI literacy. And ultimately, we don't want you to feel like you necessarily need to promote AI usage. It's just we want to be able to know, we want our students to be able to know how to navigate AI in a literate way. Do they know what the platform is, and do they know how to navigate that with a clear understanding and a critical understanding of what they're using and how it works? Our world is going to be shaped with AI. And so we want our students to be able to navigate that world with a savviness so that they can move through different spaces with an understanding of things and be those critical thinkers that we really want them to be. And so as you think about that, we want to make sure that our students who are absorbing and using AI are really thinking through how is that process started, how is the information generated, and then when it comes to me, how can I think through that in a critical space to where that I am being really educated and sending out actual truthful information rather than things that have just been pulled from different spaces and places that may not accurately depict what I'm wanting it to. And so if we as counselors can't navigate that or have an understanding for that, then our students are probably going to fall behind in some of those aspects as well. And so we really want to promote for school counselors to become as literate as they can in understanding of AI, and thinking through them in that systems approach, so that we can better guide our students. And also, as you know, we've kind of talked through those inequities can definitely widen through AI, and we are wanting to be mindful and aware that we can help close those gaps if we are critical thinkers about the AI usage and the tools and the biases that can creep through. And so we've got some practical tools that we definitely want to showcase to you guys today, that if you want to add those to your toolbox, they are definitely there for you. So here's some practical tips. We know that AI is going to be ever changing. So we've got to be flexible in how we think about AI, but what you see listed here today are definitely some great tools and information that you can use. There's a lot of positive aspects and thoughts for caution that are listed here, just so that you can be aware of some lessons to promote with students, some different snapshots that you can see. We actually plan to use some of those photographs like you saw earlier to test our faculty to see how savvy they are, as well as our students, because I will be honest, they are usually quicker to pick out some questionable AI things before I am. And so definitely want to test them to see if that goes in all areas, or just maybe some that they see more on social media and or maybe more have affinities to. But we want them to be savvy and aware of how AI can definitely be a great tool, but also something that they need to control, and be aware of the information that's coming to them and how they are communicating that out to others. So this is just a great slide for you to use as you're moving forward and thinking of how you're going to integrate AI literacy into your program with your students.
And one of the great parts, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead,
Yeah.
Sonal. You want me to go back to this?
No. Keep going. It's the next slide. I was just going to say one of the great parts is that, you don't have to go out and buy an AI literacy course or take a college course or anything like that. Code.org and many other websites, it was dropped in the chat. Some examples have some great lessons, videos that kind of go through AI literacy and kind of talks about AI, machine learning, different things like that. So just wanted to highlight that there. And once again, once you get the slide deck, all these links will be clickable, and you can click and check out these links. I love code.org because they're nice little snippets, and code.org has always done a great job of explaining and creating some great videos that can be easily used or integrated in any classroom or any setting. So definitely take a look at that. And there's Common Sense Media and a number of other websites that we'll share with you as well. So.
Yeah, and so this is another great slide that definitely has a lot of good information. So if you want to learn more on your own or share these with your colleagues, there's definitely some great links and resources here, especially for AI literacy frameworks. Frameworks for the Human Advantage as a core domain for both students and teachers. Again, we want to just make sure that we're aware of how to navigate AI, but also how to be really critical thinkers through that. And so these are some great resources for you to have in awareness with that. We want to have some technical depth as long as broad literacies and those detection tools, and also just an awareness of how AI can impact our environment. And so, again, lots of great tools on this slide for you guys to use as you move through your AI literacy. In this part, we definitely want to talk through, particularly from the counseling standpoint, of how AI literacy fits into our counseling standards. Academic planning is a key part of what we do as school counselors, and so I'm definitely going to see AI play a role in that. And so how are our students using that to help them study? We talked about them helping create study guides. We have had to have them fact check some of that to make sure they're not studying something that's incorrect, and really checking those sources as their study guide is being created. It's just really been fascinating to see how students have used it. Thinking about that career and college readiness, we've had kids use it to create their tour list of colleges that they want to go visit. So they've put in schools that they wanted to see and asked AI to map quest where they could go, how they could get those as quick as possible within certain time frames. They've asked them to create college lists for them so that they can think about maybe schools that they have not considered to be on their list. Maybe they were undershooting or overshooting. And so it's been interesting to see AI, if it has matched that bias that the students sometimes can have, or if it has opened some doors for them. And I've seen a little bit of both. And that's also where that human conversation definitely has to take place. But definitely a lot of ways that AI can be used in that career and college readiness. Again, that also ties to our ASCA standards. And so that social and emotional support, we definitely see AI with that as well. Again, lots of conversations surrounding that, needing to think through privacy, mental health app, critical evaluations, and some of those limitations there. I did want to mention we also have had some conversations in regards to that privacy piece of if you are using AI to record meetings and conversations that you're having with students and families, and thinking of how you're using that and where is that privacy going in regards to diagnoses or personal conversations. So again, just lots of awareness that we want counselors to have in regards to that AI literacy and how that does tie into our ASCA standards. And then just really honing in a little more on those equity concerns that counselors naturally think about often. And so in that AI space, it doesn't need to look any different. So are we contributing to some divides or more biases, or are we definitely raising concerns and calling out some of the things that we're seeing? I'll definitely touch a little more on the access piece. I am in a current rural community, so access sometimes to connectivity, just to Wi-Fi itself, can be a challenge. And so we definitely want to think through how are students accessing AI tools? Do they have an opportunity to do that within the school day, particularly if they don't at home or in other spaces? And then thinking about, in conjunction with that, are there certain platforms that we're promoting or using more than others? Are those having implicit biases or other things in there that we need to think about from a counselor perspective? And do our students know how to navigate those when they see those? In regards to designs, are we advocating for relevant AI implementation for all students' needs, based on different diagnoses that students might have, different life experiences? So just thinking through the designs of AI products that we're seeing, and then those active experiences that a lot of students are definitely searching for with AI. And so, how are we helping students be creative and not restrictive, or restricted in areas that we need to? And so, just thinking through those equity pieces that as counselors, we are often having those conversations. How are we embedding AI usage into those?
Yeah, and one way that I think it is and I say one way. I think one thing. Oh, Joanne, do you want to go?
You can finish your thought.
Oh, no. Okay. So one way that I think we can easily share kind of some of the things as it relates to AI literacy is this poster, AI Detectives, right? So it's quick, it's easy, and you can print it out, put it on your door, inside your door, have it there on your wall. But it's just a great resource to kind of get students to start thinking about AI, and when they use it, what are some questions they should be asking? What is something that they should fact check or be looking for to ensure that this is good information for them to use this when they're working on an assignment, working on a project or something like that. So I love this tool. Take out your phones, snap that QR code, get access to these AI detectives. There's a student guide there, a fact checking printable handout that you can get, as well as additional counseling resources. So just wanted to highlight that this is something that NCWIT has created using all their researchers, and what's currently out there, and what's going to be the best way to kind of detect, hey, is this good information AI is providing me, or is this information that maybe I should get kind of my hands into? Maybe I should, kind of update it or really put that more human touch to it. Like I said before, AI can sometimes get us 75% of the way, which is great, but we have to bring it home, right? Just like for students can't just use AI to create something because they're going to take the shortcut, right? We all know students are going to take the shortcut, and we really need to tell them, hey, you can use it, but you really need to still understand the information and take it that final leg. So just wanted to highlight this resource out there for all of us to access today.
And thanks, Sinal. I wanted to jump in. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanne Esch. I'm one of the researchers at NCWIT and the author of this particular resource. I just wanted to say a thing or two about why I created this one and how it relates to AI literacy, although Sinal, you did a great job of summing it up. I just want to underscore a point which I made in the chat, but that AI literacy is not just about knowing how to use AI in better and worse ways, but it's about being able to navigate an information landscape that is fundamentally being transformed. That is how we get information online. Now, in traditional digital and information literacy, the way we've taught students to discern good information or trustworthy information from misinformation and disinformation is to look at contextual clues on the website. Like, let's see, is this website selling me something? Is this a .edu? Is this a peer-reviewed publication? Is this an organization that like, what can I find in other news sources about this? Well, guess what? An AI answer, all of that contextual information is cleaned out. Even when AI is citing its sources, if you really go back and look at the sources, you'll find there's often a discrepancy between what the source says and how AI presents it. And two, you'll find that AI is pulling sources based on basically it's optimized it's not optimized to find truth. It's optimized to meet the user's needs as defined by the user's experience. So we don't even get those clues that we would get on a traditional website. So AI literacy means we need to teach students and ourselves how to discern, how to be discerning when what we're getting is a infinitely plausible sounding and authoritative sounding confident answer from AI. So that's what we're trying to guide students in, having an awareness of that, and also just like a step-by-step guide for fact checking. So I hope that you all, I hope that it's helpful.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. So where do we go from here? And one point I want to make about this first question, how you can define AI literacy, right? I think a lot of times we think about literacy, learning it, and then moving on from there. I think with AI literacy, it's about learning it and then learning how it's changed as it continues to evolve, right? Because AI literacy today, how we've defined it, how we've kind of shared with you, who knows, next week it may be completely different. They may be these robots or something else coming in to play. So just keep in mind with AI literacy, it's something that we need to really continually, to some degree, be on top of, but be open to kind of go with the flow as it changes, as it evolves, continuing to learn more information about it, and so that we can understand it and help our students ultimately navigate this changing landscape of technology that they're dealing with. So yeah. Do we have or do you have at least one concrete strategy to help students verify AI outputs? Using that picture example, Christy's example with the hallucination, those are great things to go through with students, just to make sure that they understand, especially those that don't fact check or don't really check anything that AI they submit that. And especially, I read an article just the other day that so many college students are using AI and just submitting papers without proofreading those papers, right? We've all heard that. It's happening in college, it's happening in high school. So we really need to be mindful of really sharing with students that, hey, once again, it's a great tool, but it can't do it all for you. So, and then where it fits into ASCA standards. All right, next slide.
All right, and so we want to do a quick recap of some of the things we've shared today. And so there's definitely some counseling lessons or conversations there for you to add some AI literacy to what you're already doing with students and families and putting some of those in place. There's a college essay review, or if you're doing some career exploration as a classroom lesson, or just doing some study skills group lessons, incorporating some AI conversation into any or all of those are definitely great ways to promote that AI literacy and for students to become more aware of being critical thinkers, and becoming those detectives that we want them to be. And so there's some definite frameworks there we want you to check out: that Digital Promise of AI Literacy, the UNESCO AI and Education Guidance, and then AI EDU frameworks. Again, those links are great and also provide a lot of great information that you can just use and put in play. So we definitely want to make sure that you have access to those. And then we want to challenge you to think about adding at least one AI literacy question to your conversations with students of, did you use any AI tools to help with this? How did you verify this information? And then what assumptions might this tool be making? And just to kind of give an example of that, we at our high school do have dual enrollment. And so a lot of our students are taking college level courses. And we have definitely started having a lot of conversations of, what do you count as AI assistance? Some of them did not see Grammarly as being AI, and they definitely have found out real quick that it was. And so it's prompted us to help define AI tools for them, and then navigating some of those, when are good ways to use that and when are some smart ways not to use that. So this really has been a great prompt for us in our building as well, of thinking about how do we elevate these conversations with our students so that they are thinking about those, and not just doing things that they know make their lives easier. So definitely something that we wanted to make sure you had access to as part of our presentation today.
And I just have to add, the Grammarly comment, Christy, it's like, I think we think suggestions are not AI because Grammarly gave us a suggestion, but that's really AI, right? Right. So
Yes.
it's interesting is that for the long time, AI's been around a long time, but just because it was giving suggestions versus answers, that's just semantics, right? How we viewed it. But yeah, it's definitely AI, that's for sure. So
Yes, they're learning that when their professor is charging them with um, not being ethical and writing their papers. And so that's definitely prompted lots of definite AI conversation in our building.
right, right, yep. And then that second question in the Zoom poll, Willow, can you refresh my memory or pop it up again? I just want to make sure we address that.
Yeah, let me pull the responses back up. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
View
And
results.
yeah.
Okay, can you see that on your screen?
Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. So, we had asked all of you, what's your general attitude toward AI on a scale of, 0 being very the risks outweigh the benefits, and 5, the benefits outweigh the risks. So right now, overall, we're probably leaning toward above a 3. So we're kind of right there, teeter-tottering, meaning that we see some value, but we're not like fully bought in. And I think that's where AI literacy, understanding AI, the different levels, the different ways you can use it. I think that's where it comes into play. Because bottom line, AI is not going anywhere, right? It's students going to continue to use it, adults, businesses, we have to embrace it. So I think there are benefits, but we just have to be very careful because we're working with young people, because there's laws in place, and because that the information we may get may not be correct. So we really have to keep that human element into it. So, but yeah. So now we're really to the Q&A portion where we
Bef-
kind of want to open it
Before
up,
we
right?
start the
Yeah.
Q&A, Sanal, I just had some questions in the chat just about some logistics. So, we'll be sending everybody an email after the event with all of the links that you saw today in the presentation, as well as a link to download the slide deck, to make a copy. And then I also, while we're doing the Q&A, I just provided a link if you would be so kind as to fill out our evaluation form to give us some feedback. This is a fairly new topic that we're presenting on for Counselors for Computing. So any feedback that we can present, that we can implement into our presentation is super helpful. So that's it. Take it away.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely give us that feedback. We talked about a lot, and we know it is a lot, and it's tough to understand all of this in just a short amount of time. And if we could spend days and days going through this, we would still probably not cover everything that AI can do in education. But now's your opportunity. If you want to ask Christy or myself or Joanne any questions about AI, how you're using it or how we should be using it or counseling or anything else like that, feel free to type it in the chat. We'll be happy to address it right now.
We did have one question in the chat previously just about how you can work with AI to provide like well-written prompts to share about like how do you get like a good college list that's like inclusive and unbiased, and how do you use that prompt engineering to specifically work with like the college search process?
Yeah, so I will speak to my daughter when we used AI to narrow the list of colleges for my daughter. So one thing, I think it's easy for us to write really short sentences in AI, whether you use ChatGPT or whatever AI engine. But what I tried to explain to my daughter is that we need to put more information, like, hey, what do you want in a college? So as opposed to, her uploading, her like initially what she did, she uploaded her transcript into AI, which I did not approve because there's sensitive information on there, but she did upload it and say, hey, which colleges would be best for me to attend, based upon the courses and the grades that she got on her transcript. Keep in mind, do not do this. Do not have your students do that. So, but I worked with her to say, hey, let's ask AI. So, which colleges have these particular things that I'm interested in, and that are in this geographic region, and that have? She was very, very passionate about a college. She wanted to go to a college that had good sports teams. So we put all those as the prompt for AI, and then it gave us a short list. And I think that's something that I think we want to take the quick and easy route, write one sentence, get and have AI give us answers. But once again, then we end up writing another sentence, another sentence, another sentence. And it's like, well, if we would have just written maybe 2 or 3 sentences better explaining what we're looking for. So in a college search, if a student is trying to search for what could be recommended colleges they should apply to, put their interest, put if they have a geographic presence, put if they have on-campus live, all these things that we normally have conversations with students anyway, put that in the prompt, then AI can use that information to produce a better answer. So, Christy, I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
Sure. I do think this is an interesting question. And to be honest, at first, I didn't notice some of the biases that were coming in when I was helping some of my students with lists. It was fascinating. Your AI search engine starts to develop a personality with you, like it figures out your personality as you're working with it. And so it was really interesting to see that it was making assumptions based on when I was generating the list over and over for different students about maybe income. It was making assumptions about certain things. It was making assumptions about certain regions. Again, we're pretty rural in some ways. So a lot of our students may not have wanted to go broadly, but I would have some students that wanted to, and it wouldn't put those schools on their list. And so definitely had me thinking about my prompts and how I was generating some of those lists with students. And so there are definite factors that I do consider putting in there, and do think the prompt is critical in developing a personalized list. And so we definitely do put, I don't put student names in there at all, but I'll list their GPA, certain test scores, maybe school size, regions of the country they might be interested in. Do they need certain financial aid? Are there certain aspects of the community that they're looking for? Are they looking for certain support services or certain extracurricular activities, or to be rural, urban? So I will say my prompt for that list has gotten much lengthier. And so that I am really getting a list back, thinking about reach schools versus safety. And I don't love that language, but we definitely think through those questions with students. I also talk with them about early decision versus regular decision, and thinking through creating their list as well, and thinking through timeframes for things like that. So there's just a lot of conversation, which again, I think that personal touch of me with that student. And that's why I like to do it with them. So even if they do a search on their own, I like to do a search with them so that we can have those human loop conversations, and I'm being brought into what they're thinking about. Are there certain schools that didn't get added to the list that AI didn't generate, but that I know would be a good fit for that student? So I really use that college building list with AI as kind of a starting point. And then we kind of ebb and flow based on some of the things that are generated through that.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to add is that I hope we all know this, but you can create a new chat within your AI engine, right? And I think a lot of times students will just go from chat to chat, like they'll continue typing in, and they're wondering why is it producing these results. So think about this: if a student always asked AI for math help or math questions, and then it asked what colleges I should attend, well, guess what? AI is going to refer them
Yes.
to colleges that are heavy in math, even though that student may want to do something more creative. But because all you fed AI was math questions, it's going to direct you to very analytical math colleges to attend or to apply to. So you can always reset the chat, or don't even log in and just do start from fresh, and sometimes and see what that answer is, to kind of double check, hey, is AI giving you good information? So. So I see a question. Has anyone tried to use AI gems for college or career counseling? So um, I've used Gems for a similar thing where you upload documents to it and reference material. I did see at a recent state ASCA conference where they uploaded the ASCA standards to Gem and used it to help with their evaluation with their supervisor, to ensure that they were meeting all the ASCA standards. So they uploaded all the ASCA standards to Gem, and then some of the activities they had been doing throughout the year, and then use that to create basically an evaluation like, hey, had they met all the standards? Was there something missing, something they need to focus on? So, but Christy, have you used GEMS much at all?
I haven't. I'll be honest, I am more of a Claude user than I am a Gem user.
Yeah. And Gem is in typically in Gemini, Google Gemini, or I think they're calling it AI Pro now. So if you did not know, I think Google's changing. They're calling Gemini AI Pro now, especially if your district is looking at using it or adopting it going forward. So
I see a question from Melissa. Is resetting chat, but going to clear out some of the ideas that it's garnered about you over time as you've used it? Unclear. You would need, I mean, the most promising way to do that would be to create a whole burner email account and start from scratch. But AIs, even AI researchers and developers talk about them as if they're talking about, like, this is what a journalist has said, it's like how they would talk about growing orchids or something, like, well, this one seems to do this and this model seems to do that. And there's this black box issue where we don't, even the developers don't fully understand what all it's drawing on to give its answers. But yes, I think you'd kind of have to start fresh with a new account.
yeah, and I use ChatGPT, and sometimes I'm logged in, and when I don't want AI to base the answer on anything I've typed in the past, I log out and just don't log in. And given I'm in the
Mhm.
free mode of ChatGPT, and I have limitations, right, of what I can upload to it and all that. But sometimes that gives me, and I'm going to use this term very loosely. Sometimes that gives me a little bit more of a unbiased response from AI than if I'm logged in via my email. But yeah, Joanne brings a good point. Having multiple emails, maybe even having an email that you log in that's, collegeadvising@gmail.com, and you're always using that for college advising or helping students do that. But yeah, it's too early to tell if that's where AI is pulling all their information and if it's truly resetting it. So, but yeah, you can try different tactics like that, logging out, using a burner email, different thing, or even using a different AI engine. Going from ChatGPT to Claude to Gemini or AI Pro. So.
And also overall remembering, if you're going for, if you need accuracy, then AI is sometimes 90% accuracy is not acceptable, right? So as far as I said, there's been a couple questions about prompting strategies. One thing that you can advise students on and also just be aware of is perhaps the one of the biggest problems with AI is not just the bias that it brings from everything it was trained on and how it is designed, but that it optimizes for user experience, which means that it's sycophantic. Perhaps you've heard that issue in AI discussed, meaning like it wants to make the user happy. So it is going to make you feel good. It's not going to tell you that you have asked a ridiculous question. It is continually validating the user and their whatever worldview they're importing in their questions. And this is a major risk when we think about just like having a shared reality as a society, is if we're all getting information from a source that is reaffirming the user's existing beliefs and creating answers that will be pleasing to the users. And our young people are especially vulnerable to that, having less experience of being aware of all alternative viewpoints or spotting those kinds of biases, right? Not just like biases of the variety that we've talked about so far, but biases towards what do they call that? Confirmation bias. So one strategy though, and it's not perfect, but when prompting, you can say, please tell me what a critic would say about this, or how would someone argue the other side, or what might be missing, or please, here's an answer from another LLM, critique this for me. And I would encourage students to also do that, is to, tell me what voices or what pieces might be missing from the answer you just gave.
Yeah, I want to highlight what Joanne said is that AI wants to give us an answer, right? And for the most part, it wants to give us a good answer or an answer that we're happy with. So it's not necessarily going to give us an answer we don't want to hear. And I think that's the key is that it's a very pleasing answer that it wants to give to us, and it sometimes doesn't want to deliver bad news to us. So that's something to keep in mind too. So you could type in some, a student's GPA and information. AI is not going to come back and say the student should not go to college, right? Keep that in mind. I have not heard AI ever saying that. I don't know, Christy, if you've ever
No, I was laughing because one of my kids put in their information and listed 6 Ivy League schools that they wanted to get into, and AI said that they would get into all 6. And so we definitely had a chuckle. And again, not to definitely want to support my students. So I wasn't laughing at them. I was just laughing at, some of those schools have a less than 5% admit rate, and you were getting into all 6. So the likelihood of that itself is pretty amazing. But we just talked too about so many pieces go into that with a holistic review. There is that human component to admissions that it's hard for AI to navigate, particularly the more selective the school, the more holistic some of their review of a file would be. So it is really interesting what AI does spit out as an answer for things that sometimes are beyond its scope. So I think that is a very interesting conversation to have with students and for them to begin to navigate to.
Right. Well, and one thing, I haven't heard colleges using AI to research students, but I know for a fact employers, you are using AI to return how a student is online, right? Employers are using it to say, hey, would this employee be a good hire based upon their online profile? So just once again, just a reminder, to students that, hey, what they post online or information that they put out there online, AI can find it. AI can find it, even if they think it's deleted or it's probably logged in some server somewhere. But yeah, just to
Well,
be
it's funny,
careful.
Sonal, that you mentioned that. I just attended a conference and I sat
Yeah.
in a session that is for a platform. So students are in a platform putting this information. But colleges are using that what the student puts in, how much they're engaging with
Mm,
certain aspects of that platform, such as like the roommate, inquiring about roommate situations, inquiring about financial aid. They are using AI to kind of track that, how engaged the student is, and determining how engaged that student is with their school, of whether or not to render decisions in certain ways of, would that be a student that would accept their offer? Is that student that not really interested? So it will be interesting to see how AI is utilized more in academic spaces as well as businesses and jobs.
yeah. Yeah. Very true, very true. And I know we're a little bit past the hour, but maybe we can go to the next slide. And I don't know if there's any other questions, but just want to continue the conversation, keep the conversation going. Make sure you fill out that evaluation. Reach out to us. I know someone in the chat asked, what a workshop looks like. Tell us what you think would be beneficial in an AI workshop. If we did a half day workshop, a full day workshop, what are some of the topics you would like to hear in that workshop or us deep dive into? So you can email us there at c4c@ncwit.org. But yeah, let's continue this conversation because once again, AI literacy, like normal literacy, it's not something we're going to learn and move on from. It's going to be something that we're going to continue to probably touch upon. And as new tools and this technology evolves, we'll probably have an AI literacy 2.0, maybe in a month, a year, who knows when, but we'll probably have a 2.0, 3.0 that we'll be working on in the future as well. But just on behalf of Christy and Willow and Joanne, just want to thank everyone for being with us today.
And can I just say a final plug, a final thought, if I may, to leave folks with? You all are likely to have a lot of ed tech companies selling AI products to you as being something that is going to solve many, if not all, of the problems with education. It's going to personalize it. It's going to do all of these amazing things. I'm not saying AI can't do helpful things, but who are the experts on child development, on education, on what students need? You are. Educators are the experts. Ed tech platforms that rely on continually getting profits are not optimized toward the knowledge that you all have as educators and the relationships that you form as students, right? That is what the relationships that you have with your students, that is how students learn and that is how students grow. And AI can't replace that.
It's just a tool, folks. It's just a tool. All
All
right.
right. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, everybody.
Yeah.
We will be sending the recording as well as all the links and to the slide deck and the links we shared today in a follow-up email. And you can feel free to email us at c4c@ncwit.org if you guys have any additional questions.